Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Meadow and I'm an independent fantasy and romance author. Today's video is a little bit of a challenge. I have a bit of a busy week coming up, actually a couple of busy weeks coming up. I have some contract work days that I'm going to be incredibly busy for, so I'm not sure how much writing I'm going to be able to get done. So what I wanted to do, and to just kind of switch things up a bit, I am challenging myself today to write 8,000 words. So right now, I'm currently working on my sapphic contemporary romance. My last video on this channel, I just finished my pirate fantasy, and now I'm jumping back into draft 2 of what I'm calling Project Artlit. It is a friends to lovers fake dating scenario. It is so much fun. I started draft 2 all the way back in October, and I just have been kind of slowly chipping away at it. I am doing essentially a full rewrite of the story. So as you'll see from some clips, I have my laptop next to my monitor, which has draft 1 on, and then I am writing on my PC. I am going to get started this morning and see how many words I can get done. I think 8,000 is pretty obtainable at this rate, as long as I stay on track. I sometimes get a little bit distracted, especially when my phone is next to me. I'm hopefully going to be able to put it away and just focus on this writing. I do also have a bit of a deadline today. I have until about 5-ish today to get this done. So that's even more of a challenge in this way because I can't just sit and write into the evening. I have an event that I need to go to tonight. And so before that, I need to go eat dinner. This is going to be a little bit of a tricky challenge, and we are going to see how it goes. So instead of continuing to talk, I should probably get to some writing. Little bit of an update. I am about 2 hours into writing today, and I've written just over 2,000 words. The progress isn't super crazy right now. At this rate, it's about 1,000 words an hour. And if I want to get to 8,000 by the end of my workday, then I would need to continue at this track in order to make it to 5. But because I will probably have to take a lunch break at some point to eat some food, and also because I am recording in between, I'm unsure of how that progress is going to go. I think I need to pick up the pace a little bit here. It could just be because it has been a couple of days since I've written, so perhaps this morning hasn't been the most efficient with my writing. It could be because it's been a couple of days since I've written, so perhaps my efficiency in my writing isn't as succinct as it usually is. I don't know if I'm using the word in that context, but alas, I'm going to keep going at this. So yeah, it is about 11:15 as of recording this. I have essentially 5 hours and 45 minutes. I can do math to write 6,000 more words, which when you put it like that, I'm going back and forth between attainable and not attainable. And originally I was going to try to write 10. So let's get back into this and see how far we can get for this chunk before I need to take a step back and take a lunch break, essentially. Let's go. Okay, since I was on a bit of a time crunch, I wasn't able to film an outro after I was done doing my writing for the day. I did end up reaching my goal of 8,000 words in only a day, which is great. I for a bit there, I didn't know if I was actually going to be able to do it because I was writing about 1,000 words an hour, which for the pace of about 8 hours was a little bit slower than I wanted it to be, especially since I did need to take a lunch break at some point. I kind of did mention that at one point earlier. But I ended up hitting a bit of a stride in the afternoon and got to almost the climax. I almost got to the climax of the novel. Those seeds were pretty well fleshed out, and so I didn't have to spend too much time worrying about what it looked like. I don't know. I was working hard at it and ended up getting through. I was really excited to get to that point in the novel. The next scene that I'm going to be writing is the act 3 breakup, I guess you could say. I don't have a 3-act structure in my head right now as I write this. I don't typically for a lot of the books that I write. If that's like the trope, I suppose, is the something is pulling apart my characters for whatever reason and they have to find their way back to each other. So that scene is very highly emotional, and I know that I will need to be in a good headspace in order to write it because I remember when I wrote it last August, it kind of took a lot out of me that day. So I only have a few chapters left in the manuscript as of right now. However, I plan on adding a couple of more scenes within the novel. I just have to sit down and actually outline those scenes and see where they're going to fit. Even though I have only a few chapters left to write or rewrite, I am going to go back through the manuscript, add a couple of more scenes in there that I think they're missing. And then I'm also going to be officially changing the city that this novel takes place in. I'd mentioned this in a previous writing vlog while I was writing this book, probably back in October. I was originally writing this novel to take place in the city of Toronto, which is the capital of the province of Ontario in Canada, where I live. I live in Canada. As I was actually writing the setting, okay, actually, I should explain. I chose Toronto because it is one of the biggest cities in Canada, the one that most people know, so it felt very centralized, and also it is the one out of the other bigger cities that I am very familiar with. I've visited many times. I thought that it would be good for me to write and to take place there since I knew some of the locations and the way that the transit system works and the different neighborhoods. But as I was actually writing the scenes and describing the settings, like there's a farmer's market setting, there is a club scene. As I was describing those settings, I was picturing places in my home city. And so I think what I'm going to do is I am going to just change the location to be my home city since I already know so much about it, and because I live here, I'm going to change some of the locations and generally more just actually use a map of this city in order to lay out where my characters live, like the neighborhood they live in, where they work, and this sort of thing. While I go back through before I finish doing this draft is I'm just going to like adjust very minor things in order to solidify the city, because right now it says it's Toronto, but so many of the locations are described as real places that are in Ottawa. So it doesn't make sense for it to say that it's in Toronto, even though I know these places are here because these are places that I visit and that I've been to. All this to say, I am super excited with this project and the progress I've made on it so far. This little writing challenge was just a way for me to this challenge was a way for me to do something different on this channel, and also just different for myself. Sometimes I find myself doing the same thing over and over again in terms of my writing routine, and it can feel a bit like a slug sometimes. Having a bit of a different challenge is really exciting for me, especially when it's like a time limit and a word count. I think actually doesn't add too much pressure to myself. It makes me excited to want to keep writing. So it's something I need to do a lot. As for what's coming up right now, I'm going to try to finish this draft in the next video. The only thing is, March is going to be very, very busy for me. Work is going to be incredibly busy. I'm working almost like 40 hours a week, which is fantastic. I'm so excited about that. But it might mean that my writing is a little bit slower because when I work in the evenings, I typically like to do something fun during the day that doesn't feel like work all the time. And so, as I've said many times before, my writing is fun, but it doesn't feel like a hobby to me. It feels like work, especially now that I have this channel and so much content that I make around my writing. It no longer feels like just a hobby, it is a part of my job. I don't typically do long 8-hour writing days when I have to work from 6 until 11 at night. I don't know how much writing I'll be doing over the next little bit, but hopefully I can still get some done in the mornings. I think I'm the most productive with my writing in the mornings, even though that is definitely where I'm the most tired, but I find that I do my best writing in the mornings. So the idea in my head right now for my busy shifts coming up is that I'm going to be writing in the morning and then taking the afternoon to do other hobbies and just entertain myself in other ways. I have plenty of other things to do. And then my like late afternoon evenings are going to be at work. So we're going to see how that balance goes. And I'll definitely start vlogging at some point during one of these busy weeks so that you guys can see kind of what my life can look like at times. All right, I think that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're interested in what I do, please consider subscribing and liking this video. And if you want to see a little bit more daily stuff, I post a lot more frequently on my Instagram at Meadow L. Marie. All right, until next time, bye.